What's going on, everyone? So JJ Redick is the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm sure most, if not all of you, are very aware at this point. And we are moving closer to training camp into the upcoming season. And one of the things that JJ really highlighted early on in his pressers and stuff like that, you keep hearing it kind of be reiterated, is the shooting, right? That he really wants the Lakers to take more three-point field goal, three-point attempts. Lakers were one of the better three-point shooting teams by percentage, but the attempts, they were like dead last as far as attempts go, right? So you weren't getting a lot of attempts. And you look at just the Lakers roster and players on this roster, from like Rui to D'Lo to Reeves to Dalton Connect, now even LeBron. You have multiple guys on this roster that have the potential to be 38 to 40% from three-point range. And if you can knock that down at a higher consistent clip, then that could go a long way to really kind of bolster the Lakers' offense. I mean, the Lakers were a very good offense last year. They averaged 118 points per game, little hair over, but they were one of the better offensive teams in the league last year, and they are a team that, particularly with Rui Hachimura and that starting five, were one of the top offensive teams. Now, personally, I like a little more balance. I prefer to have a Jared Vanderbilt in the starting lineup and trust that Anthony Davis, LeBron James, D'Angelo Russell, and Austin Reeves can provide enough offensive firepower to where you can kind of mask Jared Vanderbilt, and then also trust JJ Redick in his basketball mind and the way that he can draw up plays and X's and O's and stuff, and will be able to make Jared Vanderbilt at least a serviceable offensive player, right? We'll see what he does as far as shooting-wise goes, but also it really helps that, JJ Redick is one of the greatest shooters in basketball history, right? I mean, I'm not saying he's, Steph or Clay or anything like that, but he literally made a career being this sniper, and he is a guy that, really understands basketball in a multitude of ways, but particularly shooting and shooting mechanics and stuff like that. I mean, he even had that one podcast with, Ray Allen, where he talked about mechanics and was breaking it down with Ray Allen and stuff like that. So he's a guy that I do think, it makes sense. We're kind of moving into this NBA in which three-point shooting and volume is very important. I mean, you look at the Boston Celtics put up historic numbers as far as attempts go. They shot an insane amount of threes per game. And, the Lakers, again, were kind of more towards the bottom, where you get a guy in JJ Redick who understands the game, is very analytical. Analytics say you need to shoot threes. You kind of look at the top teams like Dallas and Minnesota and, the Boston Celtics, and these teams all shot a lot of three-point attempts. So, if you just kind of look at the numbers, OKC was number one as far as percentage-wise goes, but Boston was number two at 38.3%. And then you look down to the bottom here, Lakers were ninth. They were technically at seventh, I believe, because, there were a couple teams that had the exact same percentages, but they shot at 37.2%, which tied the Indiana Pacers at 37.2%. So, again, they were, if you kind of rank it down by attempts, stuff like that, they dropped to ninth. But really, they were in that, top 6-7 range, because several teams had the same three-point percentage, right? You look at, the Clippers and the Phoenix Suns. But the Lakers, again, shooting threes and that three-point percentage, they were very good shooting the basketball. The problem is you look at attempts, and again, you scroll down to the bottom, and you see 31.1 attempts, and they were 30th in the league in that regard. So, again, they were very bottom of the barrel as far as attempts go, but were one of the higher percentage teams, right? You look at a team like Denver, which I think is interesting, at 31.3%, but then you look at, Jamal Murray and Jokic and, even Mike Porter Jr. is really good in the mid-range and stuff like that. It kind of does make a little sense. But, the Lakers, the lack of attempts was a big issue, right? Excellent three-point percentage, but just didn't get enough attempts up to really kind of capitalize on that shooting percentage. Now, that could also be why the Lakers were so good shooting the basketball in that percentage, right? Because, you kind of look at your three main starters, right? D'Lo, Reeves, and LeBron James. Now, we'll touch on Rui here in a moment too, but these three are basically locked for the starting unit. I don't see anyone else taking either of their places unless a trade ends up happening. But these three guys, D'Angelo Russell had a historic shooting season. Can he maintain that? Maybe not to the historic level, but can he maintain high volume in a 40+% 3-point percentage? LeBron James, same thing. Can he stay at that, like, ideally 40%, but that 38 to 40% on high volume? And then Austin Reeves, right? Austin Reeves to me is the biggest kind of kicker here, because Austin Reeves was 40% the year prior, but you look at last season, and Austin Reeves was abysmal for a large majority of the season. Now, he did pick it up and was able to finish at 36.7%, which is not great by the previous year standards, in which he shot 39.8%, so basically 40%. But like a quarter of the season, Austin Reeves was like 29% from three. You got to remember, the Lakers started off terrible shooting the basketball. Even D'Angelo Russell was terrible shooting the basketball, and he was able to pick it up. I think he was like 31% for like the first like 15 games or whatever, right? And then you saw like Darvin Ham kind of benching these guys. It was just a mess on numerous occasions. But Austin Reeves really lacked the consistency last year. He was able to pick it up because towards like the midway point and beyond, he would have these stretches, like these pockets. And we talked about it all throughout the season, where he'd have these like pockets where, he's knocking down, like some games like 4 out of 5 or, 6 out of 8 and stuff. So it really kind of just skyrockets your 3-point percentage when you have, 5 straight games or whatever you do that. But then he'd get right back into a slump. And it's just, can Austin Reeves find that consistency once again, right? LeBron James is LeBron James. LeBron James is going to do LeBron James things. But Rui, whether he comes off the bench or he starts, Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell are going to be looked at heavily as far as the 3-point shooting goes and maintaining a high percentage. Even Rui Hachimura had an excellent 3-point percentage, right? All three of these guys, you're looking to be 40+% from 3-point range. You need them to be. And now you're asking them to pick up the volume, right? Well, D'Angelo Russell, he's already there, so you're not really too concerned with him. But, you look at like a Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves, do you want them to get into that 7-8 3-point attempts per game range? Because if that's the case, then, you don't want their percentages to sink, right? You see a lot of guys are really good shooting the 3-ball, right? Like Austin Reeves shot 40%, but it was on like 3.5 attempts per game, 2 seasons ago, right? But last year was 5.1, and he shot 36 and, will be nice to say 37%. Is that because of the uptick in threes, right? You see a lot of guys that like their percentages are great, but once you get down to like, okay, well, let's go from 3 to 6, all of a sudden you see their percentages really start to tank, right? You look at Rui Hachimura. Last year, he shot 42.2%, which is excellent, but he only took 3.4 attempts, which was the most of his career. But still, it's not a huge amount of attempts. If you're looking to have him bump that up to, say 5 or 6 attempts per game or more, can he maintain, not necessarily the 42%, but can he maintain even, let's say, 38%, 39%, or does he start dropping to 36, 37%, right? All of these things could be a real factor. But Lakers definitely do need to take more attempts. Now, I don't want to see them in particular, because you have guys like Rui Hachimura, who's best on the block, and LeBron James just putting his head down, getting to the basket. Anthony Davis, obviously. You have several guys on this team, even Christian Wood, where they're best just kind of going, around the paint, 15 in, right? Austin Reeves likes to get into the paint, get into the teeth of the defense and pull up and stuff, right? Like, I don't want to see them be, a Sacramento attempts or an OKC attempt, or I don't want to see them being, a top 3 in 3-point attempts. But I'd like to see a little more balance, right? especially if they can maintain a decent percentage. As long as they can maintain, the 37% as a team, 37 and some change as a team, then yes, it would be nice to see them, maybe move up to, 38, 37 attempts or something like 36 attempts, somewhere in that ballpark. Up to, a handful more attempts per game. But, we'll see. We'll see, like, guys like Dalton Connect. What will Dalton Connect translate to? Well, he'll be able to come in, have an immediate impact shooting the basketball and playing off ball, right? Does he have his struggles, right? And how many attempts does he get a game, right? Gabe Vincent was like one of 13, I think, something like that. It was the final stretch, and then finally hit one. But, like, you look at guys, and some of the other, Jared Vanderbilt, how many attempts does he take a game? Right? Like, obviously, you want your best shooters shooting the basketball. It doesn't always work out that way, right? And the Lakers have a lot of guys that just aren't great three-point shooters, right? Now, Dalton Connect, hopefully, he's a guy that can come in and at least be, 37 to 38% right out the gate as a rookie. But, again, key word, he's a rookie. So, is he able to maintain and stay at that type of level the entirety of his rookie season? Even if he's taken 3 or 4 attempts per game, right, it still counts towards the overall total of the team. So it's just things like that to kind of keep in mind. But I definitely want to see the Lakers take more attempts. I don't want them getting too carried away with it, right? Like that, like I said, like that 35 maybe range, 35 to maybe 37 range, ideally, so basically 35% of your attempts, I think, from three-point range, 35 to 37%, you figure 100 possessions, right? So, 37% maybe, okay, fine, your attempts, especially if you're shooting at a 37% clip, then fine, you're gonna have a very high point total. Also, I imagine the motion offense that JJ Redick wants to run, I think will go a long way in that regard as well. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. So I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you want the Lakers to take more attempts and you want to see them kind of have that uptick? Do you think no? Stick to your usual game, inside game. Again, I'd like them to kind of play that inside out game, but I would like to see them take some attempts. But anyway, again, how do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.